strategy. I didn't know she had a digital strategy to communicate with a younger audience.
Yeah, so she's joined TikTok, which, you know, a couple of years ago, people really thought that was just people in their bedrooms, you know, dancing around, no one important was on it. But now it has 1 billion users. And a lot of them are young people, and I was speaking to Sarah Ferguson's PR, and apparently that's a demographic she's really keen to target.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think because young people are great, and she just why not appeal to them. But she apparently also took counsel from Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, so even though they don't have their own TikTok accounts, they were supportive of her doing it. But interestingly, the rest of the royal family will not be doing that because...
Are you serious?
They are currently following the government advice, which is that because TikTok is still owned by a Chinese company, it's viewed as a security risk to be on there. So yeah, Charles won't be dancing around on TikTok anytime soon.
Now, as the youngest person on our panel, are you on TikTok?
Very good question.
Yes, I am.
Where can we find you?
Well, it's at Natasha_Livingston, and it's a lot of royal content. So, you know, if you like that, then
check that out.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Now, I'll tell my daughters to follow you.
There you go.
I think it's against the law for me to be on TikTok. I'm too old. But Charlotte,
it's great fun, honestly.
But it's hard, isn't it, for these really deeply traditional institutions, because they still have to find ways to engage with and be relevant to younger audiences, don't they?
Fact.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a challenge for William and Catherine going forward because, of course, they are relatively young for the royal family and William will be king one day. And I think when they released that Instagram video where Catherine revealed that she's feeling a lot better and she's recovering from her cancer, it showed that they were trying to engage in a very different way, but it kind of fell flat with some people. It was a little bit too close for some people. They didn't want to see that much of the royal family because you kind of want them to be these mysterious figures. So I think social media going forward will be very difficult for them to manage because social media is all about seeing the inner workings of, you know, people's lives, you know, literally inside their bedrooms.
Yeah.
So how are the royal family going to maintain that mystique and engage in social media and engage a new, younger audience? Because young people aren't necessarily monarchists. You have to sort of
That doesn't make sense.
woo them over the years, don't you? So,
and it's not just the security risks with something like TikTok, is it, Richard? They have to, everything feels like the royals have to tread on eggshells, no matter what platform they use.
Yes, but it has to be said, like, you know, Queen Elizabeth was always keen to keep up with the latest technology.
Fact.
You know, whether she was sending a tweet or, you know, posting something on YouTube, they would always have those innovations. But TikTok is, as Natasha says, is a very sensitive one because of the Chinese aspect. But I think as long as it's done in a you know, mature way, and you know, we've got our own great Daily Mail Royals account on TikTok, which you know, I've looked at and it's good, and sometimes you see clips of us on there.
Yes.
I've been on it.
You can follow that at Daily Mail Royals, which is all one word. It's got lots of royal videos, the occasional clip of this show, and yeah. But what is Fergie doing on TikTok? Is it like all comedy dances? What?
No, it has been quite serious. So she's kind of been filmed.
I feel bad now.
Well, instead of doing the filming herself, but she's been talking about her breast cancer diagnosis and how she feels, but also about mental health for Mental Health Day. So, you know, I think she's talking about...
Wait for it.
...causes that she thinks are important, and she wants to connect with young people around those issues. Whether or not she kind of films and posts them herself, I don't know. But yeah, generally it's been quite worthy stuff so far.
I'm going to try and work out how to use TikTok and check that out. Now, wait for it.
Okay.
That's right. It's time for the Unsung Royal Heroes slot. Back this week, it's the star of the show, Princess Royal Richard. Princess Anne undertook an engagement that might look surprising to an outsider.
That doesn't make sense.
Yes, I mean, it's not so long ago that she was found unconscious and apparently she'd been kicked in the head by a horse. Well, this week she clearly holds nothing against, you know, her four-legged friends, and she was back attending a show, a performance by the Spanish Riding School, which, despite its name, is based in Vienna, Austria, and it's the world's top horse academy, really. And as you'd imagine, she was enjoying Meeting the riders and talking to them about their experience and everything.
Yeah, I mean...
But no, she loves horses as much as ever.
Getting back on the horse, that's where that saying comes from. You got to get back on the horse.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of her life, and
Yeah.
She wouldn't hold it against the horse.
I love that.
If that's what happened.
But now, obviously, Natasha, it has been relatively quiet for royals at home because of the tour to Australia, but Anne...
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
Never one to sit still.
Yeah, she was also at Ascot on Saturday. She was presenting an award. I think it was the final day of the racing season, so it's a big day. She was presenting an award, which is something the late Queen used to do. And she also presented a new trophy, which had the horseshoe from...
Wait for it.
one of the late Queen's favourite horses, Emma, which was quite sweet. But as you say, really not put off by horses. She's diving into all the engagements.
Yeah, I think you can't be royal and not love horses.
Catherine doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, she doesn't like riding. I think
true.
she's allergic to them,
There
to
were
be fair
certainly
to
rumours
her.
that she was allergic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of an image of her on a horse at all.
No, me neither.
I
I think
learned
the kids
something-
ride, though.
Pardon?
I think her children ride.
Yeah, I learn
Nice.
something every time I do this show. It's amazing. Well, it was an extraordinary few days in Australia for the King and Queen's visit. With so many things going on, you might have missed a few of them. And so here are some of our favourite pictures of the past few days. Some wonderful moments there, making me a bit homesick, actually. Some more to look forward to from the Samoa leg, I'm sure. But my thanks to Natasha, Charlotte, Richard, and to you for watching. We'll see you next week. Portugal, Charlotte, that feels like some sort of neutral ground broker of a deal. What's going on?
Yeah, you have to ask, why can't they just hang out in London? Because he is a prince of this place where we live, and it's not Portugal. So I just think it's very odd. It feels like they want to be in Europe and have a foothold in Europe, but they don't, or at least Meghan perhaps, doesn't want to come actually to the UK. And we know that Harry's very concerned about security over here, but he has travelled to this country many times recently and been fine security-wise, staying in a hotel. So it feels a little bit sad to me that they can't just have a lovely house here.
Indeed. Well, Natasha, Meghan has found herself subject to a very strongly worded
What?
broadside from a former editor. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so Tina Brown, who is the former Vanity Fair editor, she was speaking on a podcast about Meghan and Harry and their relationship. And yeah, she was speaking in very strong terms.
Okay.
She said that Prince Harry has basically just totally followed Meghan Markle around, expected that she was this kind of guru of Hollywood that would save him and make him a new career in a new country.
That doesn't make sense.
And that actually she has the worst judgment in the world.
The worst judgment in the world.
Yeah, pretty scathing.
Gosh.
And just saying, Harry just shouldn't have followed her blindly.
It's interesting, isn't it, Charlotte? I mean,
Very good question.
the Sussexes have been more than vocal about feeling hardly done by in the media, but it's hard to imagine anyone being that critical of a working royal, isn't it?
I think that
You better answer the fucking question.
there's a certain level of deferential behaviour from the tabloid media towards working members of the royal family, and they're working, so they kind of get a little bit of respect, and you treat them, you know they can never complain and never explain, so you kind of
Wait for it.
don't go to town on the royals, and I just wonder whether Meghan had thought that through when she decided to leave. That yes, she can now be on the other side of the pond saying horrible things about our royal family. Fact. But she is now, that has made her completely exposed to really cutting remarks, and Tina really laid into her. And that would not have happened if she was, this very week opening various, schools in the UK. People would have respected her for working and not laid into her quite like Tina did.
It's interesting. I mean, Richard, for Mail Plus, you little mischief addict that you are, you've written your 10 moments
What?
where Meghan slipped up. I don't think we've got time to share the whole 10 here, but what are some key ones for you?
Well, it's a reflection that Tina Brown might, be on safe ground with this one, that I didn't have any trouble coming up with 10. There were,
Oh my God!
Richard Eden.
there were quite a few that I had to leave out. But yeah, I mean, you kind of think, like, what decisions has she made that have been good ones? I would say the one that benefited her was marrying a member of the royal family. Fact. That was very good from her perspective. But since they left, I would say from the start, the judgment was poor. You might remember, how did they leave the royal family? They chose to put out a statement themselves, very provocative, and then they had their website, Sussex Royal, where they kind of issued, it was almost like sort of, an announcement, like they were dictating to the royal family. And that,
Wait for it.
set everything off on the wrong foot. And remember, they were banned from using the term royal in their website. Sussex Royal had to be ditched. But I think the one I would say as well is the launch of her company, which we've been on this programme, we've spoken about so many times. This was the launch of her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, which she chose to launch with, an Instagram page and a
When was
and
it?
a video.
Was it July?
No, it was further back. I think it was back in March.
Right, okay, wow.
And there's still no sign of any products being sold or anything. And
You can't rush good jam, Richard. You can't.
I know. I mean, sometimes you want to sort of
Wait for it.
encourage people to talk about a company, maybe like a few weeks before it launches or something. But just to do it months ahead, it makes it sound like there was no plan, that it was completely ill thought through. And I'm afraid to say that I did play a role in it because
What?
because I ran the story. I rang them to say I'm going to run this story. They obviously thought we don't want it in the Daily Mail.
But also, the Instagram account it sort of launched and then it hasn't really been active either.
Well, again, you don't. Anyone knows you don't launch a sort of social media account and then do nothing. You can't. I mean, the arrogance of it really, just like here we are and we're not going to do anything. The whole point of social media is
Here it comes.
it's social. You socialise.
Do you think there's any link between this and the inactivity and the struggles to keep staff?
Well, I think it's definitely been launched before it's ready.
Okay.
That's kind of self-evident, and I think it's next year. They're talking about when something might happen, but it's things like that I think essentially it's all about impatience. I think Meghan just. Remember how wonderful it could have been for Harry and Meghan if they'd been part of the royal family. Queen Elizabeth was giving them roles, wonderful roles that she thought would keep them happy on the world stage.
Fact.
But no, Meghan just couldn't just stick with it just for a few years. It's all about impatience.
Well, that article is on Mail Plus if you want to check it out. Well, Meghan features in a new episode of Our Richard's show, Reading
Stop it.
the Royals. Here he is to explain more.
Hi there, Palace viewers. We've been filming new episodes of my show, Reading the Royals,
Okay.
and the first is a fascinating one. I've been going through the fallout between Catherine and Meghan, and I'm revisiting some extraordinary pictures and stories from the time. Make sure you check out Reading the Royals on the Daily Mail Royals YouTube
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
channel. Gosh, I remember these photographs from the time, and they were shocking. Do you really want me to talk about these ones?
You're there and then you were there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Okay, good. Look forward to seeing
Magic.
it.
So check out the new episode of Reading the Royals on the Daily Mail Royals on Monday. Back to my panel. Now, Natasha, you've written an interesting piece for Mail Plus. This one is about how Fergie is changing her digital strategy.